Dorcas show, where we interview people with fantastic stories that few have had. No, we interview people with fantastic journeys that few people have heard. And I call them journeys rather than stories, because stories can be like the Three Little Pigs and Hansel and Gretel and all that kind of stuff that are not true. Journeys are what life gives us. And today's interview is going to be a fantastic journey. We're going to talk with and hear the journey of Mr. Thomas E. Gill Jr. as a Black race car driver. And I know some of you are like, he was a race car driver? Didn't know that, did you? I knew that. Thomas and I go back years and years and years and years and years. So I want to welcome you to the show, Thomas. And forgive me if I slip up and call you Tommy. I've known you, Tommy, for so many years, but I know your name is Thomas.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes. So first of all, just tell us a little bit about Thomas E. Gill Jr. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up and all that good stuff?
Well, 1962, I was born in Nashville, Tennessee at Riverside Hospital. At that time, it was a hospital just for Blacks. And on my birth certificate, I'm classified as a Negro.
Is that right?
Born and raised in Nashville all my life, still living here all these years.
Wow. And you grew up in what part of Nashville?
I grew up in North Nashville.
Okay.
That's around the Haynes area, the Haynes High School area, which is also an all-Black school at that time.
Did you go there?
Yes, I went to Haynes in kindergarten. Both my parents went there in high school.
Okay. So you're a Nashvilleian to the heart.
Yes, I am.
Yes, very good. So let's get into it. Tell us about your love for cars and your interest in racing. How did it all start?
Well, when I was a little boy, I just automatically picked up on cars. I think it was part of my DNA. My dad loved cars when he was growing up as a teenager and fooled around with them. So it came natural to me. Anything with a motor on it, I was interested in it. How it worked, how fast would it go, how to fix it if it broke down. I was just interested in motors and wheels.
Okay. And then what got you into thinking about being a race car driver? Or how long had that been in your being? Let me ask it this way. How did you get into race car driving? Did it find you or you found it?
I found it when I was in Cub Scouts. I was in an all-Black Cub Scout troop in my neighborhood, and nobody wanted to participate in the soapbox derby but me. And would nobody help me build a car? So I had to engineer a way to build a soapbox derby car to enter the races and race with the little white troops. And that's what I did at an early age. I built my first car out of a 6x4 and 2x4s. And I had some old tricycle wheels I put on it, and I built the seat and I put a brake on it. And I had the old string for the steering wheel.
Wow.
And I took my car over to the Parkway area near Brick Church Schools where we raced. And I raced all the little good old boys.
Wow.
And that was my first racing experience.
Did you win?
No, I didn't win. My car was a little heavy. But I did participate. That was my first experience actually racing in competition.
Absolutely.
And I was determined to do it. So I did it. I built my own car and I raced it.
But you did win. You win for the Black boys because you did it. You were there.
That's right. I did it. I represented my troop.
You represented. I love it. So how long was it before you did anything else between the soapbox derby and when you got older? What happened in between there to even get you closer to wanting to be a race car driver?
Well, when I was the soapbox derby happened in my early years, like around 9, 10, 11. When I became 13, I bought a riding lawnmower from a friend of mine, and I started cutting grass around the neighborhood. Around age 13, 14, I was cutting yards.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started really tinkering with the workings of a motor. I probably had the fastest riding lawnmower in the neighborhood.
That's funny.
And I would test it. What I would do is I would get a couple of friends of mine, And my dad had a flat bottom boat, which is just a flat bottom boat, and we would take it and put it on the grass. And I would hook my lawnmower up to it, and I would have them to go to the very back, and I would start pulling it. And I said, now when I start pulling, y'all start coming to the front slowly, putting more weight on the mower itself to see how much horsepower I can get out of it. So I kept improving my engine horsepower on my lawnmower by testing it with my buddies. It was like a tractor pull. If you know what a tractor pull is, it's what we were basically doing in North Nashville in my backyard.
In a boat.
In a boat. Yeah, we didn't have a sled, so we just used the boat and we transferred the weight with my two buddies walking up towards the front.
Wow.
So that helped me tweak the motor, helped me gain more horsepower, knowing what to do with it. It was like a test, but it was also fun too.
But you did all this just from your own brain, you know, nobody taught you. You just thought about what needed to be done and tried it and see if it worked.
Right. Nobody taught me. I had no automotive lessons at all at that time. The first automotive lessons I had was in high school at Maplewood High School in automotive, in the automotive mechanics class. But before that, it was all off the top of my head, how to think it through, how to make it work, how to make it work better.
So it was almost like a gift.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because you said daddy did it, and now you innately it got into you, and you just worked it like a musician that
Right.
never had any lessons, but it just happened. So that's awesome. That's awesome. How did mama feel about all this?
Well, she was okay with it, long as I kept it on a kind of a low speed, you know, as long as I didn't get into the big cars. And she didn't really like me getting into the big cars, but as long as I was tinkering around with stuff in the backyard and things like that, it was okay with her.
How many times did you flip the boat?
A few times.
Do understand. Okay, so now let's pull up to getting to where you are today in the last, what, 10 years, maybe 10, 15 years.
Mhm.
Start us there. What made you decide to become a race car driver?
A gentleman from Danville, Virginia, by the name of Wendell Scott. Wendell Scott was a legendary race car driver, was the first African American to race in the Grand National Circuit, which is now called NASCAR.
Okay.
He was originally a moonshine runner in the hills of Virginia, and he was very good at what he did.
Okay, what's the moonshine runner mean for those who don't know?
Moonshine runner is illegal whiskey that was sold back in
For
the
real?
prohibition days. Yeah.
Okay.
Illegal whiskey made in the woods. He would transport it. He was a transporter.
Okay.
And he was very good at what he did. He worked on his own cars and he drove them, and couldn't nobody catch him. So that was my inspiration when he got into big time racing. How he did it. He started at the dirt track in Danville, Virginia, and then he moved on up to the Grand National Circuit, and he did it on his own. So that was my inspiration, Wendell Scott.
Okay. Did you ever meet him?
No, he passed away before I could get to Danville to meet him, but I went to his house and I met his wife, Mary.
Wow.
And we did talk for quite a while. And I talked to one of his sons that was one of his crew members at the time, working on his cars with him. So I did meet him. I did meet his wife and talk to his son.
So how did you get to the house?
Well, I was working a job then. I was a charter bus driver. And I had a group of college students at the local university. So they were going to be there all day. So I jumped in the bus. I drove about 30 miles to Danville in the bus, parked it right in front of the house.
Oh my God.
And knocked on the door. And she opened the door and we talked, and she invited me in and saw his trophies and called her son. And yeah, that's how I met him.
Wow. Do you have any pictures of that?
No, I don't have any pictures. I didn't take any pictures inside the house.
Okay.
But yeah, I was just glad that grateful she let me in.
Well, yeah.
And at that time, I had raced limited late model race cars at the fairgrounds in Nashville. So I had a picture of my briefcase. So I showed her my credentials, you could say.
Yeah.
And and the number on my car was his number 34.
Is that right? Was
so
that
it was
intentional?
Yeah, it was 34.
That was intentional. You intentionally?
Yeah, I did that in honor of him, because that was his number all the years, 34.
That's fantastic. So how did you see yourself fitting in, not only as a race car driver, but as a Black race car driver?
Well, as a black race car driver, I didn't see myself fitting in. I had to pay my own way, and it wasn't easy. Um, I ran into a lot of racism on and off the track.
Okay.
Uh, little things that happened to me. I'll give you a couple of instances. One time I was walking through the. Well, let me say this: the year before I started racing myself, I was on a crew with another race team. I was treated like everybody else. The next year, when I was seen walking through the pits with a fire suit on, a driver's suit, I was treated differently.
Mm.
One gentleman tried to push me out in front of an oncoming car,
Are you
stiff arm me in front of a race car coming down the pit road, just walking by him. That's one. And another gentleman, he was standing next to me. He looked at me and he said, I had on my full driver suit and everything. He said, "You're racing?" I said, "Yes, I'm racing this year." He said, "Well, what do you know?" He said, "Next thing you know, y'all be taking over this sport too."
wow?
Stuff like that. So I got a lot of that.
What year was this?
This is in 1989 through 91.
Wow. What was the most racist thing that other than the man trying to kill you, push you out in front of the car? Was there anything that just really shocked you as being a black man in this sport?
No, I'm born and raised in the South. I've been around racetracks all my life pretty much. Before I started racing the big cars, I raced go-cars up in a place called Union Hill, Tennessee.
Okay.
It was a real little small backwards racetrack, you could say, and we race go karts there. So I'm used to it. I'm seasoned to what's going on. I know. Uh, saw some of it before I started driving, and then when I started driving, I saw some more. So I wasn't really shocked at anything.
Okay. Okay.
But the one thing that did shock me was the reverse of that. After my first race at Nashville Motor Speedway on the 5/8 mile track, I raced the limited late model division. The first thing they told me was after my race, they said, some of the people came up to me that wouldn't say nothing. They were looking at me from a distance, said, "If you need any help, if you need somebody to work on your front end, I'm a good front end man. If you need somebody to help you set your car up, I'm good with that. If you need somebody to help you tune your carburetors," they saw that not only was I determined, but I could drive.
Wow.
And I could think while I'm driving what I call under fire. It's like being in the military, you're being shot at while you're driving. And I
Absolutely.
could think, so they were impressed with my skills
Okay.
as far as that was concerned.
So what did you drive? What kind of car did you drive?
Um, I had it was a limited late model division. It was a stock car. It was a Chevrolet Chevelle frame, but it had a Monte Carlo Super Sport metal body on it, sheet metal body on it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it was pieced together.
What was it yours?
No, the car wasn't mine. I was borrowing it from a friend of mine
Okay.
when I
Okay.
first started. Yeah, I was borrowing it
So,
from a friend of
so,
mine.
so your first race, you're behind the wheel. What were you thinking?
Well, it was kind of nerve wracking because my car wasn't fast. It wasn't the best car on the track, and I qualified out of 16 cars. I qualified 12, but they spin a wheel before the race, and whatever number the wheel starts on, they invert the field. So it landed on what? 12.
Wow.
So I started on the pole.
Wow.
I started on the pole position for that first race, and I was really nervous.
And the pole position means the first, up,
First, first in line, first up front,
isn't that crazy?
side by side. I was on the left side, so I didn't have to worry about it too much because the fast guys that qualified first through fifth or whatever, they would come up to me and say, when I come around, there's gonna be a freight train behind me. I said, I know. They would say we would have a little language like inside or out, and I would say inside. That means they're gonna all come around me on the outside. I'm gonna be on the inside. They're gonna come around me on the outside. I said I'm not gonna let them pass me on the outside because I don't trust them. Some of them might try to put me in the wall, you
Mhm.
know. So
Mhm.
I said, he said inside or out. I said you all pass me on the outside, and that's what they did after the race got going. The fast cars come around, but then I caught up with my group, and then I could race. I could race. I was racing against guys like Joe Buford, which he went to Grand National Racing, big leagues. That those guys were racing with me then.
Wow.
So it was pretty interesting. I learned a lot, and we tore up a lot of stuff, but we couldn't race every race because we didn't have the funds to do it. So we raced when we could and learned a lot from it.
So what? How did you train for this?
Well, we would rent the track. Say like the car owner, he had another car and another car. We would all get together and just rent the track for a day. And we would go out and we would test and practice, but it's nothing like the real being in the real race.
Okay.
You can test and practice how the car is going to handle, how you can set it up, make it go run turns better. But it's nothing like being on the track with the other cars. So
So did you have to train physically? I know you were out there running the car, but did you have to train physically for it? And then if
yes,
so, how did you train physically and how did you train mentally for this?
yes, physically I worked out a lot. I worked out legs, upper body strength, and my legs because it's really physical. There's no power steering, there's no power brakes, and you're repetitive doing the same thing over and over. Let me give you an example. You take a mile. The track I raced on was a quarter mile, and it was somewhat flat. It had a little bank on the turns, but you take a mile and you cut that mile in four pieces. You take one of those pieces and you make it out of a circle. And somebody would say, "Well, what's your average speed?" I said, "Average speed was 65. That was average." They said, "Oh, that's not fast." I said, "Well, do 65 on a quarter mile in a
Mm,
circle
oh,
in 13 seconds. That's pretty fast."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty fast.
I
So
was gonna ask you how fast did you go? So I'm thinking 100, 120 miles an hour, but yeah, I
yeah,
get.
we were on the smaller track inside the big track racing. So 65 was pretty fast on that track. It was.
So are there different type races that you do? Like are there different names for different type races?
Yeah. As far as the races, they had different sponsor names to them. Uh, it depends on the sponsor of the race. It would be a 35 lap sponsored by so and so. It'd be a 50 lap feature
Okay.
sponsored by so and so. All the same division, but they had different names to them.
So what kind did you race in?
I raced the limited late model division, and it
Okay.
was sponsored by KDF Radio, I believe, during that time. I don't know what
Okay.
it is now, but back
Okay.
then it was sponsored by KDF Radio, I believe.
So how long did you race? How many years or whatever you call it?
I raced just 1 year in the big cars. Uh, I couldn't afford it. I didn't have the sponsors that you need. I had a few going in, and all my sponsors were African Americans, but they weren't accustomed to racing. Uh, and these guys, they had automotive dealers, trucking companies, uh, you know, racing teams from the big tracks, the
Okay.
big divisions. I didn't have none of that.
Okay.
Most of it was out of my pocket, so I just did the best I could. So,
So how much money did you need to have to be able to continue to be in a race?
well, in that division, back then, a year it would take several thousands of dollars to keep going. And you know what I did, you could spend well over 100,000 in one season easily
Oh, really?
with tires and motors and things like that. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
so it gets very expensive very fast.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Did you ever win any races?
No, I never won any races.
Okay.
I think out of the 16 that started position 16, probably the one of the best I ever did. I finished in I think it was seventh place, I believe it was.
Okay. Okay. Uh, I understand that you were the first African American, possibly the first African American to qualify in a certain show. Tell us about what that. Tell us about what that means.
Okay, years and years after I got out of racing, I still got this burning desire for automotive cars, so I got into car shows. Uh, my mother drove a 1966 Ford Mustang Coupe for several years, and she passed away in '89, and the car sat in the backyard for 10 years. So I I needed a project. So I called my dad and I said I need to buy that car for me. So he sold me the car for a little nothing. And think about it, it sat there for 10 years. The car was pretty much junk. He tried to sell it to a used auto dealer uh, for parts and they wouldn't buy it. It was too gone. So I took the car, and to make a long story short, I worked on that car for 8 years, and I turned it into a Pro Street uh, a Pro Street Mustang, just for show. It looks like a drag car, but it's just for show. I mean, you could take it to a track and race it. It's built like it's supposed to be. So got into car shows with that car, and we started showing it in 2010. And as soon as we started showing the car, the first show we went, we won. We won the first show. It was Hunter's Automotive Show in Nashville, Tennessee. It was a winter
Wow.
show, so it was indoor. So we won our first show.
Wow.
We went to the second show, which was my first national show, which Good Guys that comes to Nashville at the football stadium. I think it's called I can't remember what it's called. It was called um, oh, I can't remember now. But anyway, the Good Guys show, they come in town, and the car show was held there at the football stadium in the parking lot. That was our second show. That was just a few months later. Well, we won that show.
You won that one as well?
We won that one too.
Wow.
So I started thinking. I said, okay, we might have something here, you know. So I started going to bigger shows, and I ended up 2 years after that. I ended up at the Hot Rod Reunion in Bowling Green, Kentucky. That is a national show. There's only two at that time. It was two in America. That was the original show in Pomona, California, and then there was a show in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Well, first year we went to Bowling Green, Kentucky. We won that show.
You're kidding me.
So yeah, we won there, and we qualified in the top. I think it was the top 50 out of all the cars there, which is 2,500, to go to the U.S. Nationals. Now the U.S. Nationals was the biggest of the biggest. You know, it's nothing more bigger than U.S. Nationals because a lot of people represent the U.S. Nationals with the drag race, but the car show is part of the U.S. Nationals as well. So we qualified to go to the U.S. Nationals, and that's how we got there.
Okay. And you were the first to, what was the first African American to qualify for that? Or
Yeah, they told me when I got there with my car and I brought it in to set it up, and I got out of the car, the officials that were setting it up from Pomona, California, they told me, they said, you know, you're the first African American to qualify to come to this show, to be in this show.
wow.
So I was the first African American and the shows have been going on since, I believe, back in the late 50s, I believe.
Okay.
So I was the first one to qualify to come to the show, African American.
And how were you treated there as an African American, the first one?
On that level, I was treated very well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, this is the NHRA. You know, you're talking about top fuel dragsters, top fuel funny cars, all the classes you can think of. It's a lot of black drivers have come up through Top Fuel from California and around the country. So this was nothing new. The color barrier, it really didn't exist that much. I'm not going to say it was invisible. That wasn't the case, but it didn't exist that much because there's been so much black participation in drag racing. But here I come as the first participation of the car show, you know, African American, you know. And if I could say, we had a great week there. Car did real good. They only give away one trophy at this show, and I didn't win that one. They gave it to a real classic old drag car, 1936 Ford Coupe.
Was it worthy? Was it? Oh, okay. I was going to ask you, was it worthy?
Yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it. But it was funny when they were calling out the winner. We were all up under the tent. They were calling out the winner. They kept looking at me. They kept cutting eyes back at several people. I was like, I must have been in the top running for it or something, you know. Okay. But it was good, and you know, it was just a fun event, and we had a great time at it, and people treated me well, and it was just good.
Tell us about that poster behind you. I see a little bit of it. Tell us what that is.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, this is what they gave us when we went to that show. Each car had one of these.
Oh, okay.
So this was in front of our cars.
Okay.
And it's got at the bottom. I don't know if you can see it, but where we won at to get to that show. Lift
it up a little bit. There we go. Okay. Okay.
We won Bowling Green, Kentucky, the High Rod Reunion to get there. And it's got a description of our car and the name and what class we're in and where we're from.
Okay. But, any trophies that you won that you want to share and give us a little history behind?
Yeah, I want to show this one. Now this one it's clear. It's a crystal trophy.
Okay.
There you go. This is the one. Yeah, this is the one I won at the Bowling Green show, the High Rod Reunion, to get to the U.S. Nationals.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. and I got picked in the top 50 out of 2,500 cars
Wow.
to get there. And then out of the top 50, all of them didn't get to go to the U.S. National, so just
But
a
you
few
did.
percent. Yeah,
You did. And looking around, you were the only black one you saw.
yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I got to say this: people stereotype African Americans just because of the color of our skin.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to Indianapolis on that Wednesday morning, they had us meet at a certain place, and we all met there. We had our trucks and our trailers and our cars, and I was standing there, and they were calling names out, and they called my name out, and the guy that was in charge looked over me. He thought I was with somebody else.
Oh, wow.
I said, "No, I'm Thomas Gill with the Mustang. That's me. I'm Oh, I thought you were with somebody else. Yeah, yeah." So stuff like that,
Yeah.
it's but that particular guy, he and I have become real good friends. He's been working these shows for years, and we've become real good friends over the years. So
Okay. You were just not expected to be there.
I was just not expected to be there. No.
Absolutely. So, do you consider yourself successful as a race car driver?
As a race car driver, I don't consider myself successful. As a car enthusiast, yes, I do consider myself successful. Race car driving was what I wanted to do, but it wasn't cut out for my life. It wasn't what I was supposed to do
Why do you say that?
because of my family life. It would have took me away from home.
Okay.
I would have been on the road. I'd have been traveling, and I would have been around my wife, my children. My whole life would have been assumed, and I I have to I have to go to church. I have to worship. I have to be here for my family.
Okay.
So that life wouldn't have fit me. It wouldn't have fitted me very well.
Okay.
Even though I had the skills to do it, it
Okay.
just wouldn't. It wouldn't fit me.
But in your own little right world, you were successful in race car driving because that's what you completed in that little bubble.
Right. When nobody would help me, when nobody understood on my side of the fence what was going on, I did it anyway.
You did
So
it in.
yes, I was successful
Yes. Yay.
in that.
Okay. Okay. So if you were talking to a young fella or young woman who wants to get it, black woman or man who wants to get into race car driving, what advice would you give them?
Well, years ago, I was talking to a white gentleman in one of the local stores here, and I was kind of explaining to him about something I wanted to do, and it was something that I think it was race car driving or getting into show cars. It was race cars, and I don't know that I don't know his name. I know he lives in this area, but I don't know his name.
Mhm.
Never saw him again. He told me two words. He said three words. He said, "Just do it." And those three words are stuck with me for the rest of my life.
Is that right?
Whenever I come up against a challenge or wall, I'm like, just do it.
Okay.
Just do it. And that's what I would tell anybody. That if you have a burning desire to do something, the burning desire is there for a reason. Just do it.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Um, if you could look back at when you started this, uh, what would you do differently on your journey as a race car driver?
Well, what I would do differently is try to involve more African Americans and educate them on what I was thinking about doing to kind of get them more interested in it along the way. I brought as many as I could along the way, and the desire just wasn't there. So I didn't let that hold me back. I just kept going, but I would probably bring more attention to what I did
Okay.
before and after. I try to educate people on my car now and what I did, my background, and how this works and that works. I try to do that when I can.
Hmm.
Still today.
Okay. Okay. So here's a question. Now you're driving. You're not doing any race car driving anymore. Are you still showing the car, the Mustang?
Yeah, yeah. From time to time, I still show the car. I've won so many national shows now that I'm starting to uh, do local shows like shows for fundraisers, churches. Because it's after a while, I'm not looking for any trophies anymore. I'm just looking to get out and enjoy it and introduce it and show other people and maybe go to a fundraiser, have raised some money for a good event. something like that. I'm not really trying to uh, get into the national circuit, even though I was invited to join the national circuit.
Okay.
Ford invited me to tour with them around the country.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, Ford had they have a car show. It's an all Ford show up in Bowling Green, Kentucky at the racetrack. And it's a 2 day show. It's a Friday and Saturday show. Well, I went to that show 1 year and I won first place Friday and Saturday.
Wow.
And the representatives of the show, the organizers, asked me, since I had a Ford car, they said, "Can you tour with us? Where we have these shows on the country, can you bring this car?" And I told them at that time I was, wasn't able to financially able to do it and working and all. But that's something that I'll probably look into in the future.
Oh, very
Just touring
good.
around.
Very good.
It's
So
good to get invitation.
yes, it is. So for those of you who are watching this interview, there will be a picture of the car at the end of the interview, although Thomas doesn't have it right now, but we will show you the car. It's fantastic. I've been in it and it's loud and it just shakes your whole body. It's very exciting. So I had a good time in that car. He wouldn't let me drive it, but I rode it. So it was fun. So is there anything else you want to tell us about the Mustang, or if you had the opportunity to tell the world about Thomas E. Gill Jr. and his journey with race car driving and his Ford Mustang, what would that be?
Well, that would be first of all, God is all powerful. Put him in charge of your life. Put him out front. And no matter what you want to do, if he's out front in your life, you can achieve whatever you want to do. It doesn't make any difference what it is. He's the leader of my life, and I put him out front, and I've been blessed over and over and over for it.
Absolutely.
And I just take my blessings as they come. When I was building this car, uh, several people told me, they said, "You're building something special." They said, when you bring this car out, this is going to be special. And I didn't understand at the time what they were talking about.
Mhm.
But as I got out into these big national shows, I started to realize that I just didn't build this car for me. I built it for other people, and I built it for people that like Fords, and I built it for some people who work at the Ford plant that appreciates
Mhm.
old Fords being remodeled, rebuilt, and so I never put it on my shoulders and walk around with it. I'm just proud that I had the opportunity to do what I did, and I thank God for giving me the opportunities, and I just keep lifting my head up every day and taking it one step at a time, and it's been good. It's been good.
Absolutely. So what is the one thing you want to do next? What if you could just do whatever it is, no matter what the cost, with that Mustang, what would you want to do?
I would like to load up the Mustang in the trailer and take it to the National Hot Rod Show in Pomona, California. That's a bucket list item. And several people have told me this is a California car. It's a California car.
Oh,
So
it
I
is.
would love to take it to California and go to the show and cruise the strip a few times with it. That would be something I would really like to do with it.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to pray for that. How about that?
Okay, let's do it.
We'll pray for that. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm so proud of what you've done and setting some history for us today with the race car driving and with your mom's Mustang. Um, we will show pictures of the Mustang, and there's a clip on YouTube as well that shows the car, and hopefully I'll be able to share that link. But I do want to thank you today for being with us, and God bless you in all your endeavors.
Well, thank you for having me. I surely appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.